Welcome to this platform. Allow me to present a narrative that was recently received from a resident of Florida, shedding light on a well-known phenomenon within the American judiciary, which extends its influence across the nation. This narrative brings attention to a significant issue concerning the erosion of constitutional safeguards for individuals engaged in Title IV child support programs. It appropriately underscores concerns pertaining to discrimination, harassment, intimidation, retaliation, and unequal treatment that individuals may encounter within this particular domain. This contention is founded on the conspicuous absence of transparency, accountability, and governmental oversight with respect to the pervasive instances of judicial misconduct throughout the United States. Judicial oversight agencies, including but not limited to the Department of Justice, the State Bar Association, the Judicial Qualification Commission, Attorney General offices, Inspector General offices, and even the Federal Bureau of Investigation, regrettably, have chosen not to provide assistance to victims of judicial misconduct within the jurisdiction of the United States. As a result, officers of the courts in America have assumed an audacious demeanor that exceeds the boundaries of legal authority, brazenly disregarding the tenets of due process and its inherent protections, all without facing appropriate consequences. An egregious illustration of such misconduct arises from the conduct of Florida attorney Renita Henry, who, with deliberate intent, withheld critical information during the computation of her client's child support obligation. This attorney callously informed her client that the opposing party's attorney would proceed with the original child support amount without providing an opportunity for discussion or negotiation. Subsequently, upon her client's justified refusal to acquiesce to the omission of his information, the aforementioned attorney expeditiously withdrew from the case. From a mathematical standpoint, this deliberate omission resulted in the transposition of over $1,200 from the father's salary deductions to his net income, consequently inflating the child support obligation to an exorbitant extent. Furthermore, aggravating the inherent unlawfulness of these actions, it is noteworthy that General Magistrate Deborah Nabet-Frankel issued a ruling that was grounded in calculations deliberately designed to exclude essential components, such as Delaware state tax, Wilmington city tax, and mandatory retirement salary deductions. This deliberate exclusion of vital elements not only further compounds the illegal nature of the ruling but also undermines the integrity and fairness of the judicial process. It is particularly disconcerting that despite the general magistrate's illegal assurance to the litigant that the omission of these elements was merely temporary and subject to the judge's review during the final hearing, Judge Scott Bernstein demonstrated a troubling inclination to exercise his authority without adherence to the principles enshrined in the judicial canon. The judicial canon establishes a mandate requiring judges to report any knowledge of wrongdoing to the appropriate authorities, thereby upholding the duty to ensure transparency and accountability within the judicial system. However, in a clear departure from these prescribed guidelines, Judge Bernstein provided advice to the aggrieved father, suggesting that he pursue redress through an appeal of the rendered verdict. In the context of the ongoing battle against judicial corruption, there appeared to be a glimmer of hope when additional individuals involved in wrongful acts were identified. However, an attempt to pursue justice through the 11th Judicial Circuit Court of Florida faced an unexpected termination due to the actions of Judge David Miller. Judge Miller, relying on his legal expertise, boldly challenged the fundamental principles enshrined in the United States Constitution. The judge argued that fraud could not be deemed to exist if an opportunity for correction was available. Intriguingly, Judge Miller, shortly after rendering the dismissal verdict, recused himself from the case. Following this recusal, two judges from the 3rd District Court of Appeal opined that no omissions took place. They based their opinion on an email exchange between attorney Renita Henry and opposing counsel Emily Phillips, in which Henry allegedly acknowledged the inaccuracies in her calculations. These judges further argued that there was no intention to deceive, highlighting that the court had been made aware of the decision to omit the client's information during the calculation process. The narrative continued in April 2023, when a significant development unfolded within the Southern District Court of Florida, as Federal Judge Cecilia Altanaga swiftly dismissed the father's civil rights lawsuit brought under 42 U.S.C. 1983. The lawsuit named attorney Renita Henry, General Magistrate Deborah Nabet-Frankel, General Magistrate Gina Mendez-Locke, Judge Scott Bernstein, Judge Samantha Ruiz Cohen, Judge David Miller, and retired Judge Alan Fine as defendants. It is worth noting that this dismissal occurred a mere 20 days before the completion of the summons being served on all the defendants. Regrettably, this decision by the federal judge left the father disheartened. Adding to the father's dismay, the 11th Judicial Circuit Court of Florida permitted Judge Samantha Ruiz Cohen and General Magistrate Gina Mendez-Locke to potentially engage in retaliatory actions against the father. This allowance stemmed from their involvement in the father's federal lawsuit. It is important to mention that these events transpired when the father appeared virtually before the court on May 4, 2023. Amidst these serious allegations of misconduct, any individual with a commitment to democratic principles would likely consider them deserving of investigation. However, it is important to acknowledge that the Department of Justice, the Inspector General's Office, the Florida Attorney General, the Florida Bar, the Florida Judicial Qualification Commission, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and even the Chief Judge of the 11th Judicial Circuit have been perceived as displaying a concerning inclination to protect their peers even when faced with substantial evidence. This lack of accountability within a governmental department that should ideally uphold the highest standards raises significant challenges in achieving a truly democratic society that transcends socioeconomic divisions. The responsibility for the erosion of the administration of justice in America primarily lies with these individuals who have failed in their duty. Unfortunately, violations continue to occur, as evidenced by the actions of General Magistrate Gina Mendez-Locke and Judge Samantha Ruiz Cohen on May 10, 2023. They issued a writ for bodily attachment to ensure the father's compliance, infringing upon his rights under the guise of authority. Notably, this order explicitly threatened the possibility of an arrest warrant if the father dared to defy their unlawful activities. Thus, it is disheartening to witness courts and their officers openly engage in illicit practices, disregarding the law and victimizing American citizens. This concluding statement accurately summarizes the significant issues raised throughout this video. It underscores the importance of addressing judicial misconduct, upholding constitutional safeguards, and ensuring accountability and transparency within the American judiciary. It is important to ensure that all individuals involved in Title IV-D and other such programs receive fair and equal treatment without any form of discrimination, harassment, or intimidation. Therefore, the deliberate withholding of critical information by an attorney, as described earlier, raises ethical and legal concerns. Attorneys must provide accurate and complete information to their clients and act in their best interests. Failure to do so may constitute professional misconduct and could have serious consequences for the attorney involved. Furthermore, the dismissal of the civil rights lawsuit and the potential for retaliatory actions by Judge Samantha Ruiz Cohen and General Magistrate Gina Mendez-Locke highlighted the need for a fair and impartial judiciary. It is the responsibility of judicial officers to uphold the principles of due process, transparency, and impartiality in their decision-making and avoid engaging in any actions that may be perceived as retaliatory or biased. Judicial oversight agencies, such as the Department of Justice, the Attorney State Bar Association, the Judicial Qualification Commission, and others, have a responsibility to address allegations of misconduct and ensure that appropriate actions are taken. Overall, this video raises important issues related to judicial misconduct, the erosion of constitutional safeguards, and the need for accountability and transparency within the American judiciary. These issues require careful attention and action from relevant authorities to ensure the fair and just administration of justice.